A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
In the digital age, when kids can so easily be glued to screens and devices, it's always refreshing to hear about ministries that are targeting youth to get them out and about, doing things, expressing themselves creatively through dance, music, sport, or other activities. And we have the leader of one such organisation today. Her name is Lauren Chandler-Stebbins. She's from 1188, which is based in Melbourne, but about to expand into Queensland. And Lauren, I want to welcome you to 2020 today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Well, as I said, Lauren, we live in a digital age, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out that so many kids these days are just glued to screens. I don't know about you. I drive past bus stops and see school kids, and they're not talking. They're just on their screens.
Yeah, it's definitely the go-to as soon as you're feeling uncomfortable or it's just a gut reaction to pull your phone out and just to start scrolling. Yeah,
and so in the midst of that, you're running 1188, which is a Christian ministry. Tell us about 1188.
Yeah, so 1188, the name is a bit of a tongue twister, but it comes from Psalm 118 verse 8, which says it is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in man. And so that's the vision that we aim to instill in the young people that we work with. In life, things will always let them down, but there's a God who loves them, who will never let them down. And so we do this through practical ways like dance programs in schools and in the community, as well as wellbeing workshops as well.
Excellent. So you're based in Melbourne?
We are.
And how long's 1188 been running in Melbourne now?
We're actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year, which is really exciting. So we've got a gala night coming up in August, which we're bringing all the team back together and celebrating what God's done in the life of the ministry. And it seems really timely that in the 10-year anniversary, we're now expanding up to Queensland, which is really exciting.
Well, it is exciting. So when you say you do dance, are you doing all disciplines of dance or just one or two you focus on? Tell us about the dance programs.
Yeah, definitely. So hip-hop seems to be the main style that kids are attracted to. So when we go into schools and when we promote our programs in the community, it's very hip-hop based because it's upbeat music and the kids know it and it's familiar and different things like that. But we have a core team that meet together weekly, and together we come up with routines that have a powerful message behind it. So for us, dance just isn't about performing. It's about having a message and using that to connect and inspire others. And so through this, we do jazz, we do contemporary, even tap, all different styles. And our team's very versatile, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and so when you go into a school, for example, what do you do? Do you do a number of workshops to teach them how to dance, or you just encourage the concept of dancing and hope that they get inspired by that? Tell me about schools work.
Yeah, so our school programs are very much just a practical program where they can come and learn a new skill. They can build friendships with other teens. So we start off with a warm-up. We'll teach them a fun routine. We'll do games. And then as part of it, we always try and bring some Christian values in to it. So at some of the schools, we're not openly able to talk about Christian values. So we just do it when we talk about resilience and, different things like that are relatable to them. So we try and just not teach dance, we try and bring that element into it as well and just really create a safe and positive environment for them to be in, because they don't often get that at school. So it's just creating that sets it apart from everything else that's in their life.
Yeah, and I'm sure they can work out pretty easily that you are a Christian-based organisation.
Yeah, definitely. We're very transparent about that.
Yeah, and they'll be getting the vibe that you're Christians. And but like I said, I think it's so important these days, isn't it, to just encourage kids just to get off those screens and just do something with their minds and their bodies and their energy just in a positive way.
Yes, definitely. Yep.
So what about dancing in churches? Do you guys encourage dancing for people in church groups as well as a way of expressing faith?
Yeah, definitely. So we're very connected in with the local churches back in Melbourne. And so a lot of them will have different events like a missions concert, or they'll put on a community carols and different things like that. And we're very heavily involved in those events. We love to perform and we love to share that message. So in all the churches that we're partnering with, they're all very open to dance, and dance in a worship sense, but also dance as a way just to connect with the broader community.
Yeah, excellent. Are there any verses in the Bible, Lauren, that you love about dancing before the Lord?
It always takes me back to David dancing before the Lord and how he just had no shame and just worship in his entirety. And I think that's always something that's been very special to me.
Now, you're recently married. Does your husband bust a move on the floor himself? Is he pretty good on the dance floor?
He tries. So we have a dance camp at the end of every year, and so he's come along and he gets very competitive. So he gets into it and gives it a go, which is great. And then I got him to do a dance for our wedding as well. So,
that's nice.
Yeah.
Was it like a Michael Jackson style dance, or what are we talking? Or more?
No, it was actually a very slow dance. But our team got up at the wedding too and did something as well, which had a bit of Michael Jackson and that in it.
So I'm sure you can teach him, Lauren. But very exciting that. Why have you targeted Queensland? Because you're from Melbourne, and I would think Adelaide or Sydney are closer.
Yeah.
So why is the 1188 ministry targeting Queensland now?
Yeah. So Queensland has always had a soft spot in my heart. My granddad did a lot of ministry up here. He did big youth camps on the Gold Coast. And so it's always had a special place in my life. And it wasn't until the last 6 months that God really started to speak to me about expanding and what that looks like and where that might take place. And so I'd really been praying about it, and just through different conversations I'd had with people, it was this confirmation that kept coming forward to Queensland. And so put my feelers out there, started reaching out to churches, schools, different organisations, and just the interest we were getting in the programs was so high, and I just knew that this is what God wanted, and I felt a real peace about it. And so coming up this week and starting it off and starting to network and have those conversations, I really feel like God's in it. So even though it's further away from Melbourne, it's still such a special place and not too far when you jump on a plane. So
No, you're right. It's only an extra hour on the plane from Sydney. And there's definitely a migration up here. So the Gold Coast, as you probably know, the population's booming, as all of southeast Queensland is. So it sounds like a fairly strategic move. And so tell me about that process of expanding into the Gold Coast. What does that look like? What are you going to do?
Yeah, so at the moment, we're looking at forming a team who can then go into the schools and run the dance programs, run the wellbeing workshops. A lot of it will be our team training their team in the early stages. And then at the moment, we're working towards an open day / launch date for the ministry on October the 5th. And so that'll be based down at Reedy Creek on the Gold Coast. And so we're hoping to extend the invitation to all the churches, schools, people in the community that are interested to come along and hear about what we do and who we are, and there'll be performances and barbecue and different things like that. So we're really looking forward to that and just seeing what doors God opens in the meantime. And down in Melbourne, we have strong partnerships with the schools and campsites as well. And so we'll often go down to campsites and run workshops that the schools book in. And so that's looking like that's something that will be happening up in Queensland as well, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and I'm sure the schools really welcome groups like 1188 to come in and actually do a bit of extracurricular stuff and focus on things that maybe the teaching staff aren't equipped to do. Do you find you get a great reception in schools? Definitely.
And I think some of the issues that we cover are issues that the schools are really struggling with. So whether it's body image in young girls and boys, whether it's anxiety, different things like that. Our workshops are just really practical. We share from the heart, we share from our experience, and just give them practical tools to combat these issues. And because they're such big issues in the schools, we find that they're really receptive to it, which is great. And we've noticed in the past we've been very focused on teens, but the age group is becoming lower and lower, because even in primary age, you're seeing kids that are struggling with body image and struggling to find their identity and who they are. So we really felt like God was telling us to decrease our age group so that we can reach them and really foster that before they get into that high school age.
Yeah, so good, Lauren. It sounds like you're doing such a great job. And give me a snapshot, and give our listeners a snapshot. If you go into a school and you want to talk about resilience, for example, like what are the 3 keys you'll teach young people about how to become more resilient? Yeah,
definitely. That's a great question. I think just off the top of my head, we just say, just to keep going, and we have this saying like just to bounce back, and there's always going to be things that knock you down, but it's all about knowing who you are and bouncing back from that and learning from the experience. I think learning is such a huge thing, because when we go through tough situations in life, that shouldn't just stop us, that should gear us forward, and we can learn from that and to keep going in that. And so in our programs, we talk a lot about knowing who's around you and talking to someone you trust and finding those people that are really going to build you up along the way instead of tear you down. And when you've got that group of people that can build you up, when those tough times do come, you've got the resilience and the people around you to tell you to keep going, you can do this. And so that's off the top of my head some of the
number
keys
one
that we
is
would
just
give them.
recognise the fact that if you get knocked down, you just got to get up again, that everyone experiences hardships. And number two, just having great relationships around you to actually a support group that you can, feed off their energy when you have been knocked down. And what's another thing about resilience? What else can people do to be more resilient?
I think just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing forward in life.
Reminds me of that old Winston Churchill quote when he went into a school, Eton College, which was his old school in London, and they said, give a speech just before he died. And you know what he said? Never, 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 never give up. And then he sat down.
Wow.
That was the whole speech.
That's so powerful.
So powerful from a guy that never gave up.
Yeah, and you don't know what your struggles can lead to in the future. So for me personally, when I was in high school, I really struggled with anxiety and finding my worth and who I was. And from that, it gave me a real heart and a real passion to help other young people that were struggling with the same thing. So I could have let that knock me down, but I feel like God used it and gave me the resilience to keep going and had planted the seed for ministry in my life to help other young people.
I love it. I love how you're always talking about God and how God's, leading you and guiding you. But this is a very practical thing you do. You're teaching kids how to dance and be more resilient. Sounds like a great ministry. It's called 1188. I'm with Lauren Chandler-Stebbins, and they're in the process of expanding from Melbourne. They'll keep operating in Melbourne, but they're going up to Queensland, to the Gold Coast, and that's going to happen in October. So just briefly tell us about what's happening in October to launch 1188 on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, definitely. So we're very excited to partner with some of the churches already, and we're going to be hosting an open day. And so this is just an invitation to anyone in the area that wants to come along. And our team's going to fly out from Melbourne, and we're going to do performances and some of our workshop material so that people get a real sense of who we are and what we're trying to establish on the Gold Coast. There'll be barbecues, there'll be fun activities for the kids. It's just going to be a real family day and a real open day for people just to come and experience our ministry, which is really exciting.
Sounds amazing. And 1188, you have a website or a Facebook page you want to point people towards today?
We do. We have all social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We've got a lot of our dance videos up on TikTok if you want to check that out. But our website is www.1188dance, which is the word 11, number 88dance.com.
Okay, so just the word 11 and then the number 88. Dance.com. So correct. Easy. 1188dance.com. Encourage you to check it out. If you live in Southeast Queensland, in October, 1188 will be operating in the schools and the churches in that part of the world. But if not, if you're in Melbourne and you don't even know about 1188, which is possible, check out 1188dance.com. Lauren Chandler-Stebbins, I want to thank you so much for joining us in the studios today at Vision Christian Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.